Have a question for me or next week's guru? Post it below. Greetings, paranormal addicts. I'm Londa Graff, and welcome to the Beyond Natural. This week we're bringing you the best of Case 5, highlights and evidence, and an interview with Maighred Birdsong on healing and spiritual counseling. Now, before I lead into the clips, I wanted to explain another part of STPI's method. STPI focuses on recreating versus debunking. To us, the word debunking sounds a little harsh and tends to evoke a foreboding sound, not to mention a little dismissive. So STPI focuses on recreating through investigation. We hear a bump, see a shadow, or when a client even brings us claims, we want to see if we can make it happen again. Recreating involves not only figuring out what could be the possible method to make something happen, but answering the additional questions that come when you finally locate that method. For example, I have a blurry picture with a see-through person in it. Well, that's just overexposure, they say. No one was in the house when I took the photo. But so then you start to ask other questions. Were there windows nearby? Potentially another item that may have looked like a person in that exact same spot. Bottom line, our thought is if you can recreate it and answer all of those questions, then most likely it doesn't fall into the category of paranormal. There are exceptions to this philosophy though. That being said, let's move on to some clips. Now just to clarify, Case 5 was a little mind-boggling. It was hard to pick out the best clips because there were so many interesting tidbits. Also in this investigation, we had two guest investigators, Darnell and Sherry. Now, Case 5 had claims of items moving on their own and seeing the shadows. This first clip is of Chris and Darnell. Check it out. Did you see that? Now, we got some questions about why the camera moved during the clip. Destin was on the camera at the time and had stepped on something. The camera moves because Destin looks down to see what he stepped on. And because the camera is on a harness attached to his body, it naturally moves with him. Now we'll come back to this clip a little later for a closer look. Our next clip is of Destin, Mike, and Sherry. Our other guest investigator, Darnell, is trying her hand at cameraman.
There'll be no gold rushers, nothing like that in the house. I think we're going to go upstairs real quick and see what that noise was. That was kind of weird. That was heavy.
And Chris is in the tent still.
Don't know.
Something heavy and loud.
Nothing out of the norm.
Hold on a second. Where was that sitting at?
It was lined up against the computer table.
Alright. Here, see if this was the sound. Did that kind of sound like it? Okay, hold on a second. Let's try something different. You ready?
Woohoo. Okay, just to clarify, at the time of the noise upstairs, everyone in the home at that point was in the basement. They go upstairs to investigate the noise. FYI, there was a stationary cam near where the team believes the noise originated. I'll show you that footage later. Now this last clip is of Destin and Mike in the living room area. They're watching the SOS box, which only responds with lights when actually touched. Take a look.
You're having fun with that box, aren't you?
How you enjoying that? If I put my hand over there, you gonna keep doing it?
Had the lights playing on this little SOS box.
So you have to be like really, it's gotta be almost nothing. See, I have it dialed way low too, so you almost have to touch it. So if you get really close to it, you can manipulate the lights just a little bit, but it was sitting between.
Okay, if you notice, Mike shows exactly what has to happen to make the box light up. The team can honestly say that the box is not affected by other electronic devices or movement, just touch. These experiences were just a few of the crazy moments that evening. But now, the guest guru of the week. This week's guest guru is Maighred Birdsong, a Reiki master and United Paranormal International's chairperson for Washington State. Maighred is a wonderful, fun lady. She's a great person who enjoys helping others either by lending an ear or using her abilities as a healer to help out in tough situations. Welcome to the Beyond Natural, Maighred. It's good to talk to you today.
I'm doing just great, thank you. How are you doing?
I am doing wonderful. Well, so to get us started, now I know that you deal with healing, and I know you kind of specialize, you're a Reiki master. So our first question of the day is, what is Reiki?
Well, the simplest explanation is that Reiki is a hands-on healing method developed, or rather rediscovered, by Dr. Maighred. Now, the practitioner will train with a Reiki master to learn to use and develop the use of natural healing energies which emanate through everything in the universe. By use of special symbols, we transfer these energies to people or places, animals, situations that may be in the need of healing, thereby bringing them to a higher vibration and bringing about a more positive state of being and to heal and improve whatever the disease or disruption may be.
Okay, so then what you're saying basically is, so all that energy you actually transfer through meditation?
Sometimes hands-on. You can work on a subject personally with your hands-on. Yes, and through meditations as well. I could send healing to you right now if I wanted to. I'd have to go into a meditation and decide which type of healing you would need, and then I would mentally project that to you, and then I would send you a message saying you need to accept it, and then you'd have to, meditate and ask for the healing to come to you, and you would receive it in that manner.
Huh. Well, then I know who to call next time I need a little help cheering up.
Sure do.
With Reiki then, so I know you have a website, Healing Wings, and it says on there that you offer spiritual counseling. So what does that usually entail?
Well, pretty much whatever a client needs to return to a calm, natural state, and doing some guided visualizations or meditations to help alleviate the client's distress over a situation. I did have one client whose connection with his dead mother was causing all kinds of disruptions. There were moving objects reported from the family members, knocking sounds, and even a sighting. There was apparent that his issues were starting to escalate, so I used hypnosis to regress him to his child state, to confront his mother about abuse he had suffered as a child at her hands. However, it seemed that he was angrier at his father for allowing this abuse to continue. He's seeing a psychologist now, and his marriage is pretty much over. It seems that this dear fellow had been a survivor of munch houses by proxy. I had been called in because he thought he was having issues with demonic activity or even possession. It turned out to be a doppelganger. He'd been seen by himself and others in his family as a doppelganger, but in a smaller, more diminutive form. The haunting issues have pretty much stopped, and he's dealing with his new situation one day at a time. I do hear from him occasionally, and I'll continue to stay available if he ever needs me again.
So now you mentioned hypnosis that you used on this gentleman. What other methods of healing do you employ?
Well, as you said, I use hypnosis, but only in rare cases. And I use counseling, just talking and chatting with people and trying to make them feel comfortable. I also use aromatherapy with incense and scented candles, and also hydrotherapy, warm, soothing baths scented with oils or waters. Sometimes I even use sea salt. I use scents such as lavender or rose oil, which are added to the bath. Of course, I don't actually bathe the clients. I just make suggestions to the salts or oils to put in the bath to bring about the desired effects. These scented baths are usually
Can your counseling that you provide help prevent trauma from paranormal experiences, so more as we're being active against it versus reactive?
You know, I would like to think so. However, I've only ever used my counseling procedures after the fact. You know, most clients don't think that they'll ever have a paranormal experience until they do. I've had some training working in a regular paranormal investigations group. I have mostly been working on my own, however. Occasionally, I'll work with an out-of-state group, as I did in January of this year. You know, at this time, I don't really have much actual contact with other investigators other than through the website, United Paranormal. I would like the chance to speak to those who are planning on working in the paranormal field to see if this, ounce of prevention could truly be worth a pound of cure, so to
Any
speak.
specific signs that, paranormal investigators or just regular people in general can kind of watch out for if they think somebody's in need of spiritual counseling or assistance?
Yeah, there are some signs are very obvious. One is a change in character. If they abruptly change from their usual personality and routine, this may be a clue to an issue with spiritual oppression, such as, if a person starts spending all of their time alone, when usually they're the more social type or frequently caught, even talking to themselves. Even depression and insomnia can be signs of spiritual issues. However, I do caution jumping first to the conclusion that it's something paranormal. I always strongly suggest that a person have a complete doctor's examination as well as a psychological workup, before going down the paranormal path. At the website, UPI, me and some others are working on a Paranormal MD, which is just a file that will be accessible to all, which will contain a list of things like to look for, that may be causing some of the signs of paranormal issues, like drug abuse. I have coined the phrase parachondria, which is sort of like hypochondria, but pertaining to the paranormal. There are so many TV shows about this field, and the popularity of these investigations is growing by leaps and bounds every day. There's some people out there that want so much to be a part of it all, so badly, that even something like teenage moodiness can cause them to jump to the conclusion that it's paranormal activity when really it's just hormonal. So just keep in mind any unusual changes to people or even pets in any environment, but eliminate obvious causes before calling it paranormal activity.
Well, that is about all the questions we have for you today. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
Yes, I'd like anyone who is interested in Reiki or working how it works with the paranormal, they can look me up at any of my websites by just typing in my name, Maighred Birdsong, MAIGHREAD, Birdsong, BIRDSONG, with a backslash, and then Healing Wings, HEALING, Wings, WINGS, and that should take you on any search engine. You should find a whole bunch of pages of sites that I work on.
Wonderful. Now you've made it so even the paparazzi can track you down. You're going to have tons of cameras swarming your residence soon. I just know it.
Yeah. I'll look out my window and give them my Queen's wave. I've been practicing it. Ever since I knew I was going to be on your show.
Wonderful. We're excited about that. You let us know when you get the first picture snapped.
I sure will. I'll post them all over UPI.
Well, it was great talking to you today, Maighred, and we hope to have you again on in the future, maybe on something a little bit different. Maybe we can get more into Reiki and talk a little bit more about that in detail.
Cool.
So thank you so much for being here, and you have a great day.
You have a great day too, dear. Bye-bye.
I learned so many new things talking with Maighred, and I hope you did too. Thanks to her once more for taking the time to talk with me. And now, on to the evidence! First, let's take a look at that noise Destin and team heard while in the basement again. Then we'll take a peek through the stationary cam's view and see what it can reveal. It's a little wacky. Okay, so the noise was near the stationary cam and not a person in sight. Now let's look again at Mike attempting to recreate the noise. You notice how the stationary cam caught Mike during the recreation? That would mean that whatever knocked that thing over wasn't a member of the team. This is one of those exceptions to the earlier mentioned philosophy. Something was knocked over and recreated, but nothing was present to knock the item over originally. Now, remember that clip with the SOS box? Well, Mike asked a question, and we got a response.
How you enjoying that?
Would you call that sarcasm? Now following that, a little later, we also caught this CVP when Mike, Destin, and Sherry are in the living room. Okay, don't ask what. Anyways, finally, here's that slow and super slow footage of the flying thingy. Watch closely. Reggie?
Snapshot of the road here.
Let's start with what immediately comes to mind. A bug? Well, bugs typically make a bzz sound when flying through the air. This is because they have to flap their wings at such tremendous speed to force themselves across any amount of space. If you notice, there was no bzz noise, but a noise. Two different ones. Now, hair and dust are out of the question. I mean, when have you seen hair do that? Also, if you take notice of the sound that it makes when it is going by the camera, and also the sound it makes when it darts behind the table, the sound is more consistent with something gliding through the air versus something flying via flapping its wings. Another interesting perspective is that the ceiling fan in the shot is moving in the reverse direction of the flying thing. In my experience, something moving against the current would need wing flapping, not gliding. Again, once you slow the footage down, you can see that the thingy is not flapping, but rippling through the air. It's completely connected and moving as one unit. One more time. Regardless, we're not saying this is paranormal, just extremely odd. It could not be recreated, and if this is a bug, then we just caught ourselves a new species. Call Guinness. And I don't mean the records book. That wraps up this week's episode. If you want to see more footage and replay our flying thingy, visit our website. Next week we'll be talking with Rich, STPI's cleansing specialist and minister. Our topic, religion and how it relates to the paranormal. I'll also be looking at Case 6, highlights and evidence. Till next week, keep it safe. Think you or someone you know is a guru and want to be interviewed for our show? Message us here on YouTube. I'm a lovely bunch of coconuts, diddly diddly, there they are, just standing in the road. Big ones, small ones, some speak your head. Danger, Will Robinson, danger.